Hi, I'm Ryan.
Hey, I'm Nate.
Hello, I'm Steve. And today on Dungeon Vets Party Talk, we're going to be taking two adventuring parties and we're going to be pitting them against each other and looking at which one would be the better adventuring party in Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition. We will be selecting these two adventuring parties by drafting characters from the Lord of the Rings movie series. And we have a collection of, I believe, 15 characters that Ryan and Nate are going to draft from.
They will be pitted against one another, each of our parties, in several different scenarios based on the three pillars of D&D: combat, exploration, and
Social.
I got hung up on the fact that I kind of did exploration weird. The three pillars of D&D: combat, exploration, and social, to see which one of us or which one of our parties comes out on top.
So our groups, we're going to draft a group of four, as we prefer to we think that is probably the best size D&D party, and so we don't spend all day comparing huge parties against one another. We're going to draft groups of four. We can't pick the same person, and they're all being normalized to 5th edition. So all going to have point buy, all going to have the feats and whatever their races are given in 5th edition. So just because Aragorn is more than a man, he is just as much a man as anyone else in 5th edition.
Yeah, so let's lay down some ground rules, right? You guys are going to draft one after the other, and then you're going to create your characters in 5th edition as closely as you can, resembling to what we see on screen. Now, in 5th edition, flavoring is a huge part of the game already. I don't ever want to take that from any player, so, have fun with it as long as it makes sense. You can branch out a little bit because D&D is going to be a little bit more fantastical in what characters can do than what we see actually happen on.
Yeah, and so whenever we do transfer to 5th edition, sometimes you're going to gain abilities, depending on what you choose. So we're trying to, like you said, stay as faithful to the source material as we can. But in 5th edition, you're going to gain a couple abilities that, they wouldn't have in the books or movies.
Or else we're pretty much all just playing with fighters.
So, Steve, how are Nate and I picking who goes first?
All right. I was thinking that in the spirit of Dungeons & Dragons and rolling dice, that we might just roll a dice. A die, excuse me.
The singular of dice is die. There is no such thing as a dice.
Okay. Well, do you want me to redo it, or do you want to have that on the audio?
No, I want that on so that everybody can hear the correction and so that it's out in the world, because I've wanted to say this so many times during our sessions. I didn't want to interrupt.
But this you'll interrupt.
But
right.
In this,
I'm glad we got it out.
This is my chance to shout to the world my frustrations.
Yeah, well, the world is listening. That's true. All right, so I have my little die here. I'm going to assign evens to Ryan and odds to Nate.
Yep, that makes sense.
It's good.
All
it's
right.
fitting. Because I'm a little odd.
A little bit of production magic here.
I'm going to throw up. All right.
It's a 12.
Let's go.
Ah, son of a...
All right.
12. All right.
Well, fate has spoken.
Fate has spoken. So I get to go first. Can I start now?
All right. Yes, let me just make sure I have a view of the roster.
I want to pick.
As long as you don't pick my first pick, I think I'll be okay.
Let me pick.
All right. All right, Ryan, go ahead whenever you're ready.
I pick Arwen.
Son of a bitch!
Yes!
Man! I knew it!
Oh, man. Whenever we do this party talk thing, the people who have magic are the most important people.
Man.
All right, you're up, Nate. But you can give up now if you'd like.
Yeah, now I gotta do a little bit of thinking. I knew this was a possibility, but I was holding out hope. I think my first pick in that case will be Legolas.
Legolas. All right. Good Good couple of picks. The superhuman elves going first.
Yeah, the elves are pretty high tier.
Who'd have thought? All right. Yeah. So Legolas was my number 2.
You got the only real ostensible offensive caster in this whole list.
So I think I'm going to pick Faramir, who I think is a good counterbalance in 5th edition to Legolas.
Interesting. Faramir, the misbegotten brother, the would-be sacrifice by old Crazy Pants.
What is it, Denethor?
Denethor.
Yeah.
Okay. Pick number 2 for Nate's team.
Faramir's a good pick. I think I'm going to go with Aragorn.
Okay, classic. Pretty good.
All right, we got our pals here, Aragorn and Legolas. They can speak Elvish to each other while everyone else is just like, what are they talking about? Are they talking about us? And then suddenly he's just like, then I will die with them. I'm like, oh, what the fuck? That's not cool. Cool party dynamic. And a very powerful character as well.
Indeed.
Right.
Ryan, round number 3.
This is where I can't let you have the Holy Trinity.
What's the Holy Trinity?
Aragorn, Legolas, and Gimli.
Oh.
I can't let you have that, but Gimli was not a part of my initial plan. But, no plan survives contact with the enemy. Oh, man.
You gonna do it? You gonna do it?
But there's others that I want, but I don't. If I pick Gimli, then they won't fit. But I can't let you do this. But I might let you do this. I'm going to pick Boromir.
I was trying to bait you into going for Gimli. I didn't even want Gimli. I wanted Boromir.
Oh, well, I didn't want Gimli either. I just thought you wanted Gimli.
Man, no love for Gimli over here.
No.
Too bad.
Don't get me wrong.
We love
now
Gimli.
I'm taking Gimli for sure. I pick Gimli.
All right.
Hey, I'm not sad about it neither.
I knew you wouldn't be.
I got
God,
my boys, Legolas and Gimli, their blossoming friendship.
All right, final picks. Final picks now. Yeah, we got the best buds, the Holy Trinity.
Well,
and
I also have the best background characters, so that has to count for something.
This last pick is gonna be interesting.
all right, so remaining, we have all 4 of the hobbits, curiously undrafted as of yet. We have our 2 nobles of Rohan, Éomer and Éowyn, and, just for some crazy flavor, we've got Gollum, we've got the Lurts, and
Gothmog. Man, so you're totally going to pick Gothmog here, right, Nate?
I thought about it a little bit.
I did too. And I would pick the Lurts over Gothmog if I had the
Yeah,
choice.
the Lurts was a much more enticing pick.
My 4th pick is going to be a continuation of me stalling until I can think about it. Because now that I picked Boromir, I don't need the other character that I wanted, but I didn't want you to have Boromir.
If you pick my pick again, I am going to be livid.
Oh man, I'm just gonna stay true to. Oh, this is so difficult. I almost wish that you could pick your pick next, so I could make this easier for me.
We could go. We could just do it over with me going first if you want to make it easier for you.
Oh, this is so difficult. Samwise Gamji.
Son of a bitch! Are you kidding me? Of all of them, you pick Sam?
Well, he's the best one.
Literally every pick you have picked the one that I wanted. I'm
Sorry, dude.
so freaking mad. I know what my alternate is, but how you gonna do that?
Sorry, man. I know you. I've known you for over a decade. I can figure out what you want.
Ugh. All right. Well, my last pick in that case is going to be another halfling. Not the one that I wanted. It's Gollum.
Oh, Gollum. Oh, my God. You're actually doing it?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, man.
I'm going with Gollum.
All right.
all right. I do think it's worth noting that with some of these villainous characters, that we are going to tweak it a little bit to say that, if you drafted Gothmog, that Aragorn and Gothmog wouldn't just start killing each other on sight,
Yeah.
They are going to work together to some extent. We will absolutely take personality into account.
He might still be ranting about how the age of men is over,
Yeah.
the time of the orc is coming, but he's not.
But he's not going to actively try to betray the rest of Nate's team. So very interesting. I'm curious to see what happens.
God, I really wanted Sam. I should have drafted him earlier.
Yeah, I was so in between Éomer and Sam, and I had actually decided I was going to go with Éomer over any of the other frontline options, but seeing your party, I was like, okay, I got to have Boromir because he's going to pick Boromir.
You're just picking to spite me.
Well, I'm picking the best options. I'm trying to win this.
So, do I understand correctly that you are both ready to go with character creations for your teams at level 6, correct?
Yep, I am good to go.
I am ready. Let me pull them up. I hate you.
Gollum, I can't believe it, Nate. I'm so curious to hear you justify his involvement in these events, in these encounters.
With Gollum, maybe I'll get to that when we talk about classes.
But, I would just want to say that as the Arbiter here, I would definitely imagine that many people would look at this roster and say, oh, they included villain characters. As a joke, probably. What a joke. Who would draft Gollum? Who would draft Gothmog? Who would do that?
Me.
I was really trying to figure out a way to get the Lurtz into a viable party, but it was so difficult. I'm like, man,
Honestly, he could just be a good fighter,
it'd be a great
Yeah,
fight.
I think
Frontliner.
he's a strong case for a barbarian there, too, probably.
I think he's more fighter. He's very
He does do
disciplined.
both ranged and melee combat, too.
Yeah, but like we said last week, those arrows are thick. You gotta have a high strength score to wield that bow, probably.
No doubt.
Those are some fat arrows. All right. I think I'm ready. I have to tweak my roster a little bit because I didn't everybody I wanted.
I need to finish making Gollum.
He was that much of a backup for you, huh?
I'm curious what you're going to do with Sam. I think I have a feeling I know, but we'll see. I have no casters. Well, no full casters.
Yeah, if you had gone first, I would have been in the same situation.
I think it's going to come down to the scenarios, really.
Yeah.
I'm ready to go.
Yeah, present your team, please, in 5th edition.
Very well.
format.
So, my classes, or my team, is firstly built with Arwen, around Arwen, mostly because she is the most magical person in the movies. And specifically what came to mind as being super valuable is the scene where she washes away the wraiths, which I think that's Gandalf in the books, technically.
Yeah, speaking of the most magical person.
Yeah. If you're wondering why Gandalf wasn't in the roster, well, you could probably imagine why. But all right, yeah. So Arwen I built a nature cleric. I think there's a lot of ways you could go with Arwen, but the way she dresses doesn't speak druid to me. And if I'm going around this nature-y type, she doesn't throw fireballs and stuff. So I was like, I could make a case for wizard, but I'm not going to. And I think having access to shape water, these nature spells, gust is probably something that you could imagine she could do. Basically pseudo controlling the elements, but not super deep into it.
That's a good pick for Arwen. I was going to go with a druid myself. I was going to go with the
Yeah.
Circle of Dreams druid, but nature cleric is also very fun.
Yeah, I thought about druid immediately, but I was like, I was looking up some pictures from her from the movie, and in that big white dress she's in, I'm like, I just can't really imagine a druid in that. This typical nature cleric-y spells, nothing crazy. Basically built around being that wise sort of heart of my party. And then, so next I picked Faramir. And I made him just a straight up ranger because of trying to stay true to the source material, of course. And Faramir does plenty of shooting with arrows and whatnot. So I was like, okay, he's going to be my substitute for Legolas, but I actually wanted them both on the same team. So a wisdom party. So cleric, now a ranger.
Faramir was my alternate, but you've made one fatal flaw in my opinion.
What's that?
He wears heavy armor.
Well, in some scenes he wears heavy armor, in other scenes he wears leather armor.
He has no problem waltzing around in his heavy armor, but that's okay.
Hold on, now I have to change it. Just kidding. I'm not going to change it.
No, I didn't figure.
A cleric and a ranger.
Cleric, ranger, and then I picked Boromir, who is just going to be my frontliner fighter. Him and his brother is going to have that battle bond, that familial bond, and I'm going to really probably ham that up in all of my arguments to say why they're better than Nate's party. But yeah, just classic sword and board probably. And then finally, Samwise Gamji, Rogue 2, Fighter 4. So Rogue, because he sneaks around with, he's, light of foot. He sneaks around with Frodo everywhere. And then I gave him Fighter because he does get up in it. He stabs spiders, stabs anything that comes near Frodo. And then because of that, I gave him the interception fighting style. So he runs up and he goes to defend whoever he's trying to defend.
What archetype is he hitting at level 3?
I champion. Straight up just champion.
Okay, good.
I didn't.
Yeah, I think that thematically fits too.
I couldn't make an argument for Battle Master. He's not like
trained.
No,
I agree.
So yep, that's my party. So pretty healthy, pretty wisdom stacked.
Yeah. We got cleric, a ranger, a fighter, and rogue fighter.
I wanted Sam really badly, and I should have drafted him earlier because, in my opinion, Sam is a bard. Because the whole way he is giving inspiration to Frodo, he's the whole reason that Frodo even makes it. And, he doesn't do a whole lot of very characteristically bardy things, but I think the fact that he is just constantly supporting Frodo really lends to the fact that he is a supportive kind of class, which I think is very fitting for bard.
I gotta say, I love this depiction of Sam as a bard with him providing inspiration constantly. That's a cool depiction. That's very cool.
Yeah, it would have been great if he was on my team.
Oh yeah, man, you gotta draft better. All right, cool. All right, so we got a strong team from Ryan. Nate, please present your team with their D&D 5e stuff and gubbins.
So I've got Aragorn, Legolas, Gimli, and Gollum. I'll start with Aragorn. He's a ranger. I think there's a lot of argument to be that he's really more of a fighter or maybe a multi-class, but I just went straight ranger with this one.
I disagree. He's a ranger.
Yeah.
So you get points for getting it right.
Okay, good.
That's not fair.
And I have made him a Fey Wanderer ranger.
Okay, yeah.
Mostly because he has very strong ties to the elves, and I kind of associate the elves with the Fey in this case. I think there's kind of some connection with the way Tolkien describes them. I think they are sort of Fey-like, and so I made him a Fey Wanderer. Legolas, I know I've heard conversations long before we even started doing this about what Legolas would be in D&D. A lot of people go with Ranger because, he's the woodsy elf, and that's very much, the stereotypical Ranger, right? But no, Legolas is a fighter, straight fighter, a dex-based one, of course, because he is just slanging them arrows. Also, I just made him a champion fighter. I was tempted to go with Arcane Archer, but honestly, Legolas doesn't do a whole lot of crazy or fancy stuff with his arrows. He just shoots a lot of them very effectively. And so he's just a champion.
Except when it matters.
Yeah. He does a lot of cool stuff and a lot of fancy stuff, but I didn't really get Arcane Archer vibes from him. And so just made him a champion. He puts out a lot of damage at range.
I agree.
Sharpshooter feat, I imagine.
I actually didn't give... that would have been a really good idea. I did give him a feat.
Maybe I shouldn't make suggestions.
He does have 20 decks, though.
You know who does have sharpshooter?
Well,
Faramir has
he's got 20 decks. Legolas is never going to miss, just like he doesn't in Lord of the Rings.
Except when it counts.
Except when it counts. Gimli. Gimli is a fighter, 1 barbarian 5.
Nice. All right. I like to see the barbarian.
Yeah, I don't think he would be a straight up barbarian, but he does really give off barbarian vibes. The thrill of the fight and things like that. And I made him an ancestral guardian barbarian. Because I think he has really, strong ties to his family and his ancestors and things like that. And we do get to see quite a bit of that, especially when they go into Moria And so maybe his dead ancestors that he found in Moria are keeping an eye on
I
him.
like that. Yeah. Let him come. There's still one dwarf in Moria that yet draws breath. That's
Yeah.
him saying, I would like to rage, basically.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, I dig it. All right, but the one I'm most interested in.
Yes.
Yeah.
Gollum. So I went through 3 different class ideas for Gollum, all of which I think are kind of a stretch. We don't get a whole lot from Gollum. Actually, make that 4. I went through 4 different class ideas. We don't get a whole lot from Gollum as far as like combat and things like that. We do get some from the books though, and his backstory, really, the history of Gollum when he's hanging out under the Misty Mountains. And so ultimately, I went with Monk.
I knew it, dude. I knew it. Oh, man. That's so ridiculous.
I don't think it's ridiculous. I think it's the most fitting class.
Did you do Shadow Monk?
Yeah, of course it's a Shadow Monk. I mean,
Okay.
he's
All right,
he's
so-
hanging out by himself in solitude under the Misty Mountains for hundreds of years, very monk-like. He never really uses a weapon. He's always just using unarmed stuff. He's very squirrely. He loves the darkness. He's a shadow monk. I very seriously considered making him a warlock. Obviously, he never uses any magic and stuff like that, so it'd be more of a stretch. But his patron is basically the Precious, or arguably Sauron himself, via the Precious. I also argued making him a cleric, kind of based on the same thing, his god, his deity that he's devoted to being the ring, the Precious, but I thought that was a bit too much of a stretch. And I thought about making him a rogue, of course, which I think is like the first, most obvious one. But I think Shadow Monk is the most fitting.
I would just love to play this is the example of what 5th edition has to offer is like, yeah, they're not exactly the way they are in the movie, but having ghosts of other dwarves defending Gimli, and then this Shadow Monk version of Gollum who's teleporting places. Oh, man, that just would have been really cool.
And, out of my 3, out of my 4, we have the 3 that are just like normal, get along great. And then we have Gollum, the weird, edgy, awkward player, which is, Shadow Monks always are. I know, I've been one.
So imagine like they hooked up with Gollum because they needed him for some stealth mission, and now he's just kind of like an awkward tag-along part of this adventuring squad.
He's not even really officially a part of the party. He just keeps following them.
These 3 have been together for years, and this guy's been part of them for 2 weeks. Okay, so we got our teams. 2 good, interesting teams.
Let's see how I'm going to win this one.
I'd like to see how that would happen too.
Yeah. The way that we're going to compare these 2 teams is Ryan and Nate are going to have a fun discussion, argument based around 3 scenarios, which I am going to randomly select right now. The first of which is going to be the environment in which they are going to conduct this campaign, this one-shot, whatever we feel it ends up being. But you guys ready?
Let's do some exploration.
Got a DM.
The environment is, it's been for so long,
Are you hoping for forest? It better not be forest.
Let's go, Forest!
desert.
Ooh.
It's desert.
Desert.
Kind of wish I
Oh,
picked
boy.
Éomer here, but that's okay.
Man.
So the choice is desert. Please explain to me, the arbiter of utmost decisionry, why your teams are better suited to navigate their way through the desert and the perils that lie within.
All right. So I guess I'll go first.
No, you went first last time. Nate, you go first this time.
Damn.
Ha!
Utmost decisionry.
Not gonna lie. Not gonna lie. This is a bit of a curveball for my team. That said, we do have Aragorn the Ranger. He's best suited, of course, to the forest and grasslands and things like that. However, he's still going to be, he's a very worldly fellow. He's going to be, experienced. Places to find water, things like that. Shade, shelter. Gimli and Gollum are both small, so they don't need as much water and food.
That's not true.
No, it's true. They're small.
Strike that from the record.
Look at Gollum. He's like a 4-foot stick.
But what about Gimli? How about the mass of Gimli?
He's still shorter, okay? And that's mostly what matters.
I get it. So he's farther away from the sun. So
Exactly. Thank you.
cooler.
He's making my case for me.
Cases are being made right now.
I don't really have much more than that, to be honest.
I'm gonna be honest. This one might be this one might be a tie for us.
All right, Ryan, please interject here. Tell me why your team's going to win.
Through the power of brothership and brotherhood.
Oh, you
Boromir
weren't lying.
and Faramir.
You weren't lying. Immediately, the very first thing out of your mouth.
Listen, you may
What's
have...
thicker than water? Blood.
excuse me, you may have brothers. However, the real full expression of blood is thicker than water is the blood of the covenant is thicker than the water of the womb. Meaning my Legolas and Gimli are truly a better power couple than your two brothers.
All right, I can't argue with that.
Okay, good. We're settled
My
then.
actual argument is I have Arwen, so I have a nature cleric, and she could probably mold earth. I mean, I'm a geologist by training, so if I'm in a desert and I'm piloting Arwen, like, all right, I shape earth down to the groundwater, and boom, we have water. Or, you'd have to go pretty far, maybe
Is Shape Earth the cantrip?
yeah, you could eventually get there.
Yeah, well, my party could dig.
Might take a while. I'm thinking about this as a DM, and I'm like, you want to use a cantrip to dig for water?
This entire day of traveling is going to be spent digging.
I mean, honestly, if someone did that, I would probably reward them. I think that would be pretty clever. Yeah. It would take time.
Well, thanks.
Certainly.
Thanks, Nate. Thank you. It is pretty clever.
I would give him a chance to roll for it for sure, but I wouldn't just say a cantrip produces
Well,
water.
it doesn't produce water. It finds water, a certain amount of
the
water,
effect of it.
over a pretty significant period of time, which is, it's a trade-off.
All right, but you're going to use your nature cleric.
Being a nature domain cleric, yeah, you might even be able to say she might be able to sense water from a far distance or something like that.
That's not in the rule book.
She might be able to.
You're making shit up.
Druidcraft, basically just you can tell the weather for the day, basically. Either way, I've got a wisdom stacked party, which means I've got a survival stacked party. So between Faramir and Arwen, water is going to be fam.
I mean, listen, my party's no slackers in terms of wisdom either. And if we're talking Druidcraft, Aragorn has it too.
Yeah, okay. Well, never mind then. It doesn't help much.
No. It's been put out there.
But yeah, so honestly, Boromir's not going to help much. And Sam's probably going to be complaining the entire time. Or, you know what? Maybe he'll be inspiring the entire time.
Well, maybe he would be if you had picked Bard.
When you have those hard parts in the desert, everyone's getting exhausted. Just constant exhaustion checks from not finding water. Who's going to keep you going? Sam's going to keep you going. Come on, Mr. Boromir. We have to keep going. But yeah, that's all I got.
All right. I have made my decision, and I'm going to keep it to myself and reveal it at the end of the 3 scenarios, and we're going to move on. In the desert, you have reached a town or some sort of settlement that then requires your involvement with the people there. You have to engage in some sort of social-based scenario to influence these people to do something. And that thing is, you have to figure out what befell this town because some crazy mystery is afoot. And your party is responsible for solving
Man, we
it.
got mystery. Man, okay.
So please take a moment, think to yourselves, how is your party going to go about solving a mystery for the denizens of this town in the desert, and why is your team better suited for it than the other? Ryan, when you're ready, please go first.
Okay, so this one might cancel out again. High wisdom party means high insight rolls. We're out. We have Arwen and Faramir investigating, trying to figure out, interviewing people. Did you see anything? Did you commit the crime? These insight checks are going to be very important here. Boromir is probably going to be the background. One does not simply solve a mystery, but that's okay. Arwen's also got speak with animals. She might be able to interview some of the animals who could have seen something, depending on what this mystery is. And if it was done inside, you can interview a mouse maybe. But if it's outside, maybe there's like a desert owl or something that might have been a witness to the crime. Faramir certainly got tracking ability with his survival, with his training as a ranger. And possibly this task would require sneaking up on someone and overhearing a conversation, a task for which Samwise Gamji would be able to fulfill. So I think we're decently prepared for what a mystery has for us. And if there's any quick things, we got good perception.
All right. Nate, what do you have to say about your team?
My party is going to approach this on basically two fronts. We have Aragorn and Gimli. Aragorn is going to go up and he's going to talk to people. He is very persuasive. He has a proficiency in persuasion and a bonus to it due to his Fey Wanderer subclass. And so he's going to be going around. They're going to be talking to people, trying to figure things out, trying to find some extra information. And in the case that charm fails with Aragorn, Gimli is there to intimidate as a backup plan, you know? And on the other hand, Legolas and Gollum, an odd team, they're going to be the ones who go around at night and they're looking for things. They're looking for suspicious stuff, looking for clues, following someone. They're both very sneaky, and Gollum especially. So I imagine Legolas kind of going around providing more or less overwatch. He's sneaky himself, so he could kind of be in a hidden position while Gollum is going around teleporting all over the place with the Shadow Monk stuff, looking for whatever they might be able to find during the night.
I would like to mention the bond of brotherhood between Boromir and Faramir.
Yes. All right.
Okay, I just want to make sure that factor is considered.
It'll shine through the darkness of any mystery, right?
Exactly.
All right, I have made my decision for the social aspect, and I'm going to save it to the end. All right, now, in solving this mystery, you guys solved it and realized, oh no, the reason that this was a mystery in the first place is because there was some terrible plot.
Oh no, what did you roll?
There was some terrible plot at play in this desert town, and now you guys have to fight a Leviathan.
Oh no. We found the water. We found
a lot of water.
The mystery is that this desert is no desert at all.
The desert, like many deserts in real life, was once an ocean. Leviathan is not a currently swimming ocean creature, but one that has been trapped here. After the water is long gone, but it still lives, and perhaps it's adapted to its new dry environment in gruesome and terrifying ways.
So yeah, let's say then that this is kind of like a sand kraken. Yeah, or some massive sand worm, like from Dune, or something like that.
So I believe the Leviathan's a CR20 monster. We're gonna normalize this for 6th level party,
yes,
right?
No.
it'll be a modified version, a young
The result-
Leviathan.
The result is a tie between our parties, as both of them were TPK'd
In the first
quickly and brutally.
Round 1. Tidal wave. You know what? Don't even make your roll. There's no way you can survive.
You've both pissed off the DM. Ryan, because his two keep talking about their brotherly love and trying to get that to resolve things that has no right in resolving. And me, because Gollum is just so fucking edgy. He's creeping everyone else out. The DM's like, we're done.
All right, still an element of not being able to breathe underwater. If you get pulled under the sand, you wouldn't be able to breathe. So this is an odd twist, but it's cool and I like it. And so, how are your teams better suited to fighting a Leviathan?
Who goes first?
Who went first last time?
Me.
I did.
Wait, who went first last time?
I did.
Oh, yeah, you did.
Yeah, I think Ryan did. So, Nate, please go first.
I'm going to
this
have
time.
to do some thinking, some looking and some thinking. I think my party's strategy would be, of course, Gimli is going in. He's trying to hold its attention as best he can. My frontliner, my barbarian, doing barbarian things, while Aragorn and Legolas are going to try to maintain as much distance as they can. Legolas doing his thing. He's slanging arrows. Aragorn slanging arrows. And he's also there to, use cure wounds, things like that. Use some spells to kind of help the party along when they need it as they're trying to maintain their distance. And Gollum, he's melee. He's trying to avoid notice. I'm going to try to get him and maybe even lag back and come behind the thing as much as he can to try to start using those stunning strikes. It's going to be hard to land on a Leviathan, but just one needs to land, and that's going to be huge. That's a whole round of us getting to put damage on this thing.
Okay, all right. Ryan, what is your team doing?
All right. So when the going gets tough, you have to defend those you love. And what love is stronger than between Boromir and Faramir? So Boromir, I picked him for the whole reason I picked him was not for the brotherly love thing. That's just a perk, but because he's my frontline fighter. He's a battle master, and while his battle master stuff doesn't really apply here, I even gave him bait and switch, disarming attack, stuff like that. They don't really apply to fighting Leviathan, but extra damage is extra damage, and his high AC with his chainmail and his shield are going to be useful when fighting this. He's going to be the only one who might not get hit. But damage is going to be taken by everybody, especially if there's like a sandstorm weather effect happening at the same time. Faramir also has healing, but the real healer, of course, can be Arwen. Arwen will have Prayer of Healing. She'll have Healing Word, Spirit Guardians, which will be very useful. It's one of the newer spells. And Spare the Dying. So when someone does get knocked out, they can be saved for later once my party is successful in killing the Leviathan. Or maybe if someone gets knocked out and we have to escape, at least that person, if long as we escape with them, won't die. On top of that, Barkskin, also pretty good for keeping herself healthy if she has to get into the thick of it. But otherwise, Arwen's going to be playing heavy support here. Faramir is going to be slinging arrows, Zephyr striking his entire way, all of his entire quiver, just into the beast. And then probably saving some spell slots to pick people back up. Probably picking Boromir back up. He's going to shout a healing word of desperation when he sees his brother go down fighting Leviathan. And that love is going to bring Boromir back up so he can fight again.
Okay.
And Sam's there.
Oh, and Sam's there.
Yeah, but Sam has the lucky feat, and he's got Action Surge. So despite not being as, fightery as Boromir, Action Surge is still Action Surge. And if I can get a sneak attack off too at the same time, all the better.
I think if Gollum gets one stunning strike off, though, it could turn it in my party's favor. We're dumping out damage in this party. Lots of damage.
Samwise also has Interception to maybe dive to save Arwen while she's kind of my squishiest character, and she's not even that squishy. But 2 fighters, that's 2 second wins. But also, champion fighter Sam, just in case you get that stunning strike, which is a low chance, as there's legendary, resistances and stuff like that.
At 6th level?
Depending on how nice the DM is being.
Yeah.
When I'm DMing our party, I need legendary resistances because we're all so good at D&D. Our rules as written CR6 monster is not going to beat our party of 6 levels. Unless there's a lot of extra stuff going on.
Yeah, especially with the action economy the way it is in 5e. If it's the whole party against one thing, you can throw some high CR things at a party and it'll still go down.
Yeah.
I have some questions. What kind of damage output is Arwen bringing to the table?
That's a good question. Some radiant damage. She can also bless everyone to just have higher skill checks. But as far as offensive spells, she doesn't. I gotta look. She's a cleric, so she has access to literally all the spells.
Right.
So it's kind of hard to look through freaking everything. But spiritual weapon, and that's just a quick, bonus action. Don't have to think about it ever again. No concentration on that. But yeah, I would be doing radiant and or piercing damage with like spike growth and stuff like that.
I love spiritual weapon because it gives support characters a great option to kind of do passive damage while they're doing their support things.
And what kind of spells is Aragorn bringing to the table, Nate?
Can I also say that champion fighter Sam could happen. This could happen. He sneaks, gets a sneak attack, and he rolls a 19 or a 20. And then it's a crit sneak attack. And then he action surges, and then it happens again? Could happen. I don't mean...
You can only use sneak attack one time per turn.
Okay. We'll find DM. That way.
But if he still, getting 2 nat 20s in one turn alone, that'd be incredible.
One of them pretty lucky.
One of them
pretty lucky, right?
So so Sam is rolling like six
Sam is
dice,
my power gamer.
6 dice in one turn to try and just hit in 1 nat 20 to sneak attack it.
Exactly. Somehow Sam is the power gamer here.
That's funny. But it's also not a terrible strategy. The more dice you roll, the more chances you have at getting a nat 20.
So Aragorn's spells are also going to be mostly focused on being supportive in nature. Got the Cure Wounds. Healing Spirit would be very useful. He does have to maintain concentration on it. He's got, like I mentioned, his Misty Step, which comes from his subclass, the Fey Wanderer. Could be very useful in that case if Leviathan is grabbing things or if he just needs to get to a down teammate quickly. But yeah, Healing Spirit's a big one. He could also use the Summon Beast just to summon an animal, kind of just to soak up some damage, maybe to take the Leviathan's attention, give it another target.
Okay. All right.
I mean, he couldn't have the Beast up and Healing Spirit at the same time, so I'd probably definitely say Healing Spirit.
What were you about to say, Ryan?
I was going to say anything Aragorn can do, Faramir can do a little bit better.
I would argue it's the exact opposite.
Canonically,
Aragorn is definitely better than Faramir. Faramir's great. Faramir's great. Aragorn's better.
For the record, I made Faramir a Horde Breaker hunter.
Personally, I think that Aragorn is a Horde Breaker hunter as well, and that's why he so constantly survives 1-on-8s and stuff like that.
Yeah, I considered that, and I made Faramir as well as a backup, and he was a Horde Breaker hunter for me. But Aragorn, I liked the connection with the elves there.
Yeah, it was cool.
No, yeah, I think your depiction of Aragorn is super inspired. Love it.
Thank you. Okay, I am thinking very hard.
You know, this one turned out
closer.
This turned out closer than I thought it might.
Yeah, we don't know what the DM's thinking, but I think I got round 1, and I think you got round 2.
I got the same feeling. You got round 1, I got round 2, and this one is, I don't know. My team's damage is.
It's your team does have a lot of damage, but do they have the love?
Yeah, we have Legolas and Gimli. Blood of the Covenant's thicker than water of the womb. We've been over this. How close are Boromir and Faramir really depicted?
I mean, we don't see them, their childhood, really.
No, we don't, do we?
So we can only imagine how close they are.
I actually think that Boromir is pretty protective of Faramir, and I think they do have a good relationship. I think we do see that in the movie a little bit, don't we? Or is it a flash? I can't.
I think it's a flashback before the orcs attack us.
Yeah.
And it's in the extended version.
All right, DM, what do we got?
Let's go, Arbitrator.
The anticipation is
literally killing me.
Literally.
He's stuck.
His face hasn't moved.
This is very hard, I gotta say. I think, too, that the one thing that really sets combat apart from the other two elements is that in combat, which is the main thing that D&D is based around, it's a lot more well-defined with its rules, what you can do, exactly how far you can move. You depend on the dice. That's the end result I'm trying to get to, is you depend on the dice to tell you what actually just
there's
happened.
always rule of cool stuff, but at the end of the day, combat is heavily dependent on rolls and RNG, and so it's kind of hard to determine who's going to win in a case where we're not rolling dice.
Okay. I have made my decision.
Come on.
All right.
Come on.
Man.
Okay.
I can take it.
So, it was a relatively easy decision between the first two scenarios.
Yeah, we both die in the desert.
In the exploration scenario, the last team to collapse into the sand and perish is Ryan's team.
Yeah.
You both have rangers to be able to help out with some sort of environmental work and navigation and things like that. And so I kind of made that a wash. And then you both have fighters that are kind of just lugging their gear around. But I will say this, that travel is harder on dwarves than it is on humans. And if you're having hard travel in the desert, when I think Gimli might wear the heaviest armor of anybody that we see, that is something as a DM I would take into consideration. And I would say, yeah, you're going to have to, inevitably, eventually you're going to have to start making some rolls. And the
fair.
Key factor, however, that put it over the top was the fact that you have a nature cleric, Ryan.
Yeah.
Because at fifth level, when you get third level spells, one of the cleric's spells is create food and water. And that's the way to survive in the desert right there, you know?
Hey,
so
Aragorn's got Goodberry. Ryan's favorite spell.
Oh, I hate that spell, dude.
Okay, he has Goodberry. Well, yeah.
So 1 day of sustenance or create food and water?
I mean, I think you're still right. I think his team still has the edge, but
I wouldn't say Goodberry gives you hydration like you need.
what is the text of Goodberry?
It's
That actually
nutrition.
kind of...
I think it says 1 day of sustenance of like nutrition, so food. But I would argue that water and hydration is a separate thing that you need to consider from that. Because if you look into real life scenarios of survival, the thing you need to find right away is water. You can go days without food, but you need to find water right away.
Nourishment is the exact word.
Oh, well, isn't that a nice vague term?
It uses NES. So I kind of think I'm not going to go and look to see if this has been addressed or something. And yeah, I think that's kind of up to the DM. I think there's an argument for both, like nourishment.
It does not affect our
water.
decision here.
No, I concede that Ryan's team probably has a slight edge. Ever so slight.
All right, and so then we get to our desert town, and there's some weird mystery afoot. And the team that solves the mystery first is Nate's team.
Okay, yeah.
You're damn right.
Yeah, makes sense.
And the reason behind this is the reason that really pushed me over the top is I think a key element of mystery solving is you're going to have to do some sort of stealth event at some point in time. You're going to have to sneak into somebody's place to find clues. You're going to have to stake out on some street corner and wait for the buyer to meet the seller or what have you. And
Running a drug bust.
yeah, I don't know why I went to drug bust, but there's some sort of stealth element that'll probably be incorporated into a mystery, and Gollum is amazing at stealth. Legolas is also really strong at stealth, and they're also still, if that stealth scenario were to devolve into a combat scenario, they're both still very competent as fighters. I know that Ryan's team does have Sam, but
Expertise in stealth.
that's true.
Shadow Monk.
But the rest of them were a little bit too straightforward. They would probably just like find the person of interest and then interrogate them right away until they got the answer or something. And so it wasn't, not to say that they would be bad, I suppose, and not to say they would even go that route, rather than stealthily try to figure it out, they would just overtly interrogate somebody. But it wasn't enough to put the edge over Nate's team.
Yeah.
So,
I accept this.
So we are tied going into the final combat, and this took a lot of consideration, but at the end, the key thing for me was the overall amount of dice that you can roll in order to actually damage this creature. Nate's team wins.
Oh, what? Yeah! Damn it, dude.
Let's go! 2-0, baby!
I can't believe this.
So, Legolas is a champion fighter, and so the way in which that Sam is power gaming as a champion fighter to try and get nat 20s.
With lucky.
So is Legolas, and Legolas is doing it from range with, archery fighting style and stuff, so I just felt like his damage output was more consistent, and his ability to do it from basically anywhere Faramir versus Aragorn was basically a tie because they're both Rangers, level 6. They have the same spell slots and everything. Whatever differences they do in combat is probably going to come down to just the rolls. So that was a wash. Arwen was a very strong character, but in this particular scenario, I felt like her build suffered just a little bit. Because with a Leviathan, you're either going to have a ton of movement so they can get to these people wherever they are, or you're going to have a bunch of arms like a kraken going in a lot of directions that have like 15 or 20 foot reach. And so what happens if Arwen goes down and is unable to support, and already Ryan's team was kind of in damage output, they were kind of fighting 4-on-3 because Arwen wasn't doing as heavy damage as the ones in Nate's party. And that's why I asked about Arwen's damage output. If Arwen had a little bit more damage output, probably too, if we were just another couple levels higher, Arwen would be even more complete of a
tidal wave.
I
tidal wave the sand creature.
Yeah. But I think that Aragorn has Zephyr Strike, Legolas has Action Surge, Gimli has Rage to be able to withstand this stuff, and Gollum has the ability to not get hit. He can teleport, and I really liked your point about Sam. That got you a lot of points, Ryan. I was like, that's a very strong strategy against a big monster. Roll as many dice as you can to try and crit, and then sneak attack it to just pour on the damage. That is an excellent strategy for a rogue to truly contribute to the fight. And so when I compared that against Gollum, I said, that's good. Gollum's kind of doing his own version of this by using Stunning Strike, and monks can use Flurry of Blows. So at the end of the day, Sam is making one attack per turn. He can do Action Surge, but then that's gone. Whereas Gollum is making multiple attacks per turn every turn, and is using Stunning Strike every turn.
Yeah.
Like, it fails. Well, I'm going to get it once. He's going to roll a 2 eventually, and I'm going to get him to be unconscious, and then that damage round is just piled on. So,
just
Nate wins.
The image of Gollum just throwing hands against a giant creature.
Gollum is the difference. Gollum saves the day.
Man. I think Gollum would have left the party a long time ago. But congratulations, Nate.
Undefeated.
Well fought. Dang. And you got the second pick, and you still pulled it off. Nice job.
Yeah, not the party I expected to have going in. I really thought whoever got Arwen was going to have a significant leg up.
Yeah. But my party is to die. They will die gloriously. Boromir will go down first. Faramir will go down second.
And obviously, this is just my own opinion. This is just our own opinions. So we could say, too, that if this were to actually play out at the table, that Ryan's rolls just weren't as good as Nate's teams.
Well, thanks, everyone, for listening. If you have anything we forgot to take into consideration, any opinions on what classes we picked for our Lord of the Rings characters, any way you think it should have gone, let us know. We'd love to hear it. But
stay civil down there.
Yeah.
Stay civil. Thanks again, everyone. Have a great day, afternoon, evening, whatever it is. Have a great one.
What is my outro thing again?
So, we'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye!